Welcome back. We're going to cover everything that happened in Lioness Season 2, Episode 7 in today's video, from heart-stopping turns to poignant moments, or we'll break it all down and reveal the deeper meanings of what comes next. Stay tuned to relive the drama and leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Although she didn't realize it until she was flying home, Jo had already learned in the spy thriller series that she had been shot during the border interception. Her injuries swiftly progressed from back to... The crew has been pursuing Lost Tigers, a Mexican drug group that is allegedly under Chinese intelligence control. This was established in Episode 1, and Jo Finn's main support was introduced in Episode 2. The US side is using her as an asset. She is the cartel leader's niece, despite being a loyal soldier. And her conflict has caused several unpleasant hiccups, including with Jo, the unit leader. Even worse, she lost consciousness and had to be carried by the surgical response team. According to Caitlin, there is still no indication that Jo will recover. We find that the links to child smuggling are stronger. Through Episodes 3, 4, and 5, networks set up nuclear war plans and the betrayal of a Mexican special agent. As Jo fights for her life after being shot to talk about the strike team ambush issue, Edwin visits Byron. How could Lioness Season 2, Episode 7 get worse? Byron wants to find out why the suicide bombers were at the border because he believes they were Iranian-Chinese counterintelligence. He also thinks there is alleged nuclear. There is no commander, and the enemy is at the gate, even if it means their jobs are being damaged, and there is activity between the two nations in Tehran and a scheme to destabilize the border in order to influence the election. Edwin desires to forcefully close the gate. While Neil and the girls are there, Jo woke up in a state of panic and hysteria at the hospital. The doctor informed them that the damage was caused by a piece of her cell phone, not a bullet, and that she would not be allowed to undertake any vigorous activities for the next week. A la balloon. Ah! In Episode 6, Jo accuses Neil of being harsh after Neil threatens to murder him if she dies in battle. Despite Jo's seeming intention to go, she assures Neil that everything must be done in accordance with her preferences, because she has made a commitment and is not easily letting go of her duties. If he isn't strong enough, she will either leave her or obtain a divorce. Jo thinks the bombers were there to keep the team from becoming an asset, so Byron shows up to find out more about the ambush rather than actually hurting them. Byron assigns Jo to lead the mission because of what Caitlin has been doing. Jo finds it hard to relinquish ground control, and Byron doesn't give her a choice. A Mexican special agent is one of the captives being held, and when Kyle and Caitlin arrive to see if he is lying, they give him a polygraph test. He denies taking a bribe, but he won't say whether he reported the behavior. We eventually find out that he didn't because he killed Keith Roberts, the person who made the offer. He explains that the drug problem is far more severe than any of them, and essentially unmanageable. Before deciding what to do next, Caitlin talks with the tapped housekeeper who is in protective custody. She gives Kyle instructions to clean up the mess, and the team confirms that they need to leave the area because they are handling a messy time bomb before visiting our polygraph victim. When Caitlin wonders how they go past this, she essentially agrees that they are back on the same side to finish what they started by recommending a safe place in Costa Rica. Find a common ground. The crew takes Pablo to Costa Rica as Cruz and Josefina arrive to Crow's house in North Carolina and talk about what happened. Physical violence in both families is clearly a commonality between the two, strengthening their bond. Josefina fears that no matter how the mission goes, she will always be at odds with Pablo. They are prepared to kiss when the door is knocked on, and when Bobby and the guys arrive, he explains that their base hold is not prepared with any lodging. Caitlin visits Jo at the Washington hospital. Caitlin is coming in hot. She has failed in every manner and wants to find a new target as soon as possible. Joe's purpose was to bring down the cartel, not to stop the transportation of children. Joe is willing to ignore the doctor's advice to take a break and get back to work immediately. Joe Finner feels that she is the only one responsible for AHA. When Joe returns home, Cruz is not impressed by Neil's considerate actions and feels that the expedition is being halted because of her role in the previous episode. He tries to show how vulnerable her health is, but she has already left for work, which enrages him. Byron is upset about it. They are talking about the nuclear developments between Iran and China, specifically the shipment of weapons to Tran. Joe's response was that she finally gave Neil more information about her work, including the kid smuggling ring she CS to the CIA, using that as an excuse for not sleeping. Despite the fact that there is a US base close by where they the site demonstrates to both countries that they are not the only ones with open borders. It is essentially a new one. In the end, Josephina is used for her helicopter pilot training, and a Team Lioness is joining Strike Team. However, there are strict restrictions. Strikes must take place in Iraq right now so they can see how far we can go. When Joe convinces Byron and Caitlin to take over, Caitlin is informed she may merely watch and offer advice, but the consequences are far worse if something goes wrong. Additionally, Joe was not allowed to leave the Iranian base. Since there isn't any official CIA approval in this situation, there is some degree of deniability in the event that something goes wrong, as Byron explains Edwin's remarks from their first conversation. Caitlin advises Joe to be conscious of her advantages and disadvantages to prevent becoming a liability. Back at Cruz's place, Cruz and Josephina are finally sharing a kiss when their phones ring. The squad just knows that they are going back to Iraq, but they don't know why Joe shows up. In addition to meeting with the team, they are also meeting with another team in their plain suit and boots. When Josephina questions Joe about her involvement, Joe replies that she's here to save the day. When Joe calls Neil, he hears the plane in the background and gets annoyed with her because she's upset that he didn't put the women first. He hangs up and she says as she boards the plane that she doesn't know how long she will be gone. Remember to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more videos.